Hey guys, it's Tina, and today I'm going to talk about Words of Radiance. This video will be spoil-free, and at the end section I'm going to talk spoiler opinions. I'm going to do spoil-free for Words of Radiance, but I'm not going to do spoil-free for The Way of Kings. So if you've not read The Way of Kings, then you should probably not watch this video if you don't want to be spoiled. It's gonna be hard for me to talk about Words of Radiance without talking about the end of The Way of Kings. Let's get into it. I enjoyed Words of Radiance a lot. It was faster paced. I felt like the stakes were higher. It delved more in depth in the magic system, world, culture, history, and my favorite part is we got way more in depth in some characters that we barely touched the surface of in The Way of Kings. My favorite part about reading Words of Radiance is the character building. Brandon Sanderson did excellent character building, dialogue, stories. Just the story with the characters is amazing in this book, I thought. I really enjoyed and I couldn't put it down, and I kept on thinking about it, and I read this book much faster than I read The Way of Kings. Words of Radiance is Shallan's book. The Way of Kings, as you know, was a lot about Kaladin. We delve into his past, and he had a huge character growth in that book. This is Shallan's book. We delve into her past. We figure out why they are hiding her father's death and the story surrounding her father's death, and we get to kind of meet her father and figure out what is going on there. We dive into and learn why she is so insecure, or not why, like it makes sense why she's so insecure when we first meet her in The Way of Kings. I found her story extremely fascinating, very deep, darker than I originally thought her story could be. We also get to learn a lot more about Shallan's powers and how they work, and she learns more about her powers in the Words of Radiance too, which is also another fascinating things about this book. My favorite thing about Kaladin and explored more is his internal struggles. He has this idea of what is honorable, and he has this idea of what is not honorable. And he also has this internal struggle, you know, whether you can kill to save people or whether killing is just killing and none of it's good. And that comes up in the first book, and he continues to flesh this out, hash this out in his brain. And I just find that interesting and fascinating how he looks at both sides of the situation. Like, for example, he looks at his side of the situation where he killed Parshendi people in the first book to save Dalinar. Isn't the Parshendi people realistically doing the same thing to protect their people by trying to kill him? So which is right? Which is wrong, all of that. I find that about his character fascinating, that he tries to look at both sides and tries to humanize the enemy a little bit in order to find the right answer, I guess. That's just fascinating to me. Adolin, we dig deeper into Adolin's character in this book too, and I find that I come to respect his character more than I did in the first book. In the first book, he was kind of perceived as a little bit paranoid, kind of a pampered prince, and he wasn't given much depth. But I think in this book, he was given a lot of depth. And then you also were brought to light the consideration of many of the people in power were starting to think of his father as mad and going mad. And maybe it was about time for Dalinar to step down. And then how would Adolin possibly deal with this kind of stuff? How is he going to handle his social status? And we got to see that maybe Adolin, there was a lot more depth to him than previously portrayed in The Way of Kings, which I thoroughly enjoyed and loved the relationships that I got to see with Adolin and other characters as well. Dalinar in Words of Radiance wasn't a character that captivated me, but Dalinar and Navani's story, them together, super captivated me. And it started with when Dalinar in The Way of Kings went off to capture a gemstone with Sadeas, and Sadeas came back without Dalinar, and Navani was frantically like writing glyphs of prayers for Dalinar to come back safely, that scene just hit different. And that set up the relationship between Dalinar and Navani and how thick the feelings that they have for each other. So in this book, when they're together and the romantic tension is there, I kind of just go back to that one scene where she kind of let her love loose then. And now that it's carefully reined in and carefully explored, and it's possible that they can't explore their relationship, it's interesting and captivating and made me kept turning the page and just waiting for something big to happen between the two of them. Dalinar also had a lot of big scenes in this book. We delve into a lot of the past and we learned about the history and all of that stuff, but the one area of Dalinar's character that really stands out to me is the relationship between him and Navani. Another thing that I appreciate probably more that I'm done with the book and I'm starting Oathbringer than what I did when I was reading the book was the interludes with the Parshendi people. Now that I'm done, I appreciate that far more than I did when I was reading because of the interludes were placed strategically in the book, where it was, you know, it was one of the high rises of the book and it kind of puts you at a cliffhanger and you really wanted to know what was coming on next, and then it's part one ended and interludes. But within that there was interesting stuff because we got to view from the Parshendi side and we got a little bit of their history and their culture and some of their characters, a little bit of their feelings about this war and why they're even continuing with this war. And I felt that was pretty interesting. Again, I appreciate it far more now than I did when I was reading the book because of where it was placed. So overall, I really enjoyed Words of Radiance. I got way into the characters. I loved the story. There's two things that I don't love. One, I will get into the spoiler section of this video because it's kind of a spoiler. And two is the ending. And I can't really tell you why I don't like the ending because it's the ending. But the ending I did not love. And I don't know what else to say about that besides telling you what happens. So this concludes the spoiler-free section of the video. Now I'm moving on to the spoiler section to talk about that. So if you have not read Words of Radiance, I would exit stage left. Peace out. Bye-bye. Enjoy your day. Okay, so spoiler section. I really enjoyed how all of the characters got brought together. I enjoyed how Kaladin and Shallan met, their witty banter, their endless trying to one-up each other. Just great, great dialogue. I really think those two characters bouncing off each other is a pretty amazing, entertaining thing. I also love Kaladin and Adolin's relationship. It is so fun and entertaining, and it just makes me want to see them together more, and it makes me want to see them work together more. It's also entertaining to see how Kaladin is so insubordinate with Adolin and Dalinar because he has this like damn the man type mentality that everybody that's Light Eyes is crooked or dishonorable or, you know, what have you. And he holds so much respect for the people that he holds respect for, and that's it. Two of my favorite scenes have to do with Kaladin being humbled. The scene that comes to mind first is the scene where Kaladin and Shallan get stuck in the chasms, and he gets annoyed with her being happy. He gets annoyed with her looking on the bright side because he feels that he has had such a worse life than she has, and he presumes that she has never had anything wrong go in her life. And then she breaks it down for him and basically tells him exactly how she feels. And then he is completely humbled and realizes that just because he believes that Dark Eyes are the only people that have experienced unjust loss or bad things happening, because he perceives as all light eyes doing these things to the dark eyes, and the light eyes never experiencing bad things happening to them, or unjust loss happening to them, or somebody being mean happening to them. I enjoyed that scene where Calinan gets humbled. The other scene that I enjoyed was the fight scene with Adolin going to the tournament and fighting the 4 shard bears. I enjoyed that scene because it's just a good scene. It's, you know, you don't expect him to, well, I mean, you knew something bad was gonna happen, but you don't expect him to have to fight 4 shard bears. And you, after you figure out he's gonna fight 4 shard bears, you kind of predict that Calinan is going to be the one jumping in to, you know, save the day. But I didn't see Calinan totally going above his rank and challenging Amaram to a duel. So I enjoyed seeing him being humbled by being put in jail, having to live with his decision, having Delinar come and talk to him, and him having to sit with his thoughts and maybe realize, or maybe what he did wasn't right. Although he didn't really come to that conclusion. I can't remember. He came to other conclusions in the sale too. I enjoyed because also that humbled him a little bit. Let's get into the ending and the things I didn't like. I didn't like that there's a love triangle. I don't like love triangles. I don't think this is appropriate for this book. I don't think Shallan needs this to her story to make her interesting. I think this takes away from the story, and I think it takes away from Shallan, and I think it takes away from Kaladin. I don't like it. I don't like that there's basically 3 resurrection tropes, not extreme resurrection, but some kind of resurrection type thing. One with Syl, one with Yasna, and then the other with Szeth. All 3 are perceived to be dead, and all 3 come back, whether we actually see them die or not. And I just hate the resurrection trope. And I feel like this is a common theme with Brandon Sanderson, because he kind of does this in another one of his books, and it drives me nuts. If you're gonna kill a character, kill a character. Don't maybe kind of kill them and then bring them back. I don't know what else to say to that. I just can't stand it. It makes me believe that other characters you kill later on aren't truly going to be dead. And it just, I don't know. I don't like it. Another thing I don't know my feelings are as of yet is Sadeas dying. He was such a good villain. And I loved seeing him be opposite of the honorable men in these stories. And I loved how he raised the stakes. He made it all worth it to read. You never knew what he was going to do, but you knew it was going to be good, and you knew it was going to tick you off. So to see him go, I mean, it was satisfying to see him go, but yet it's not satisfying because he's not going to be in the books anymore. And I don't know if you can put another villain in his place to be as good. So I'm a little, I don't know. It depends on the rest of the books on whether I thought Sadeas should be killed or not. And I think that's it. Overall, like the book, super excited about Oathbringer. I'm actually 500 pages into Oathbringer right now. And yeah, that's it. Like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know your thoughts on the quote-unquote resurrection trope. Do you think it was I mean, because it kind of wasn't. It kind of was. It was too close for a resurrection trope for me not to get annoyed. Did you like that those 3 characters didn't really die? Let me know your favorite part of Words of Radiance. And that's it. Okay, bye. I'm saying that wrong. Okay. Ruger. Hush. You got, I don't think it's the first thing in the book. I think it's happens after. Yeah, I'm not sure.